Cleveland Abduction is a really powerful film. I thought this was really fascinating, and in general, I like films that are based on true stories. I knew a little bit about the Castro case, but by no means am I an expert, so I can't say whether this is 100% accurate. So if anybody has any thoughts on that, please feel free to share. But ultimately, I do recommend the film. There are a couple of things that I want to praise as well. There's a lot I want to praise, but two things in particular that are spoilers. So I'll discuss those at the very, very end with a spoiler warning. Otherwise, just in case you're not aware of the true story, I will keep this spoiler free. Cleveland Abduction was released in 2015. It's directed by Kalymnios. I apologize if I've mispronounced that. And written by Tolkin, based on the Ariel Castro kidnappings. And initially, it starts with Michelle Knight. She's played by Taryn Manning, and she is kidnapped by Castro, played by Raymond Cruz, and he holds her captive. And I won't say for how long, but let's just say it's a very long time. And then he kidnaps other people, and well, the big question is, will they be saved? Will they ever be free? Obviously, based on a true story, you may very well know what happens. I'm not going to say, but as I said, I have some knowledge of the true story, so I knew roughly what to expect. And from my perspective, I think the narrative was well delivered. I think it was well written. Again, if you know more about Castro than I do, obviously please feel free to share any differences that they maybe took with the film. And the emotions in this are so painfully easy to feel the character's emotions, and obviously that makes it quite a difficult but very powerful viewing experience. I think the passage of time was handled really effectively. The performances are brilliant. The camera work, lighting, everything else, absolutely very well done. And I think it's a really, really strong film. And if you like films based on true stories, absolutely check it out. It's quite powerful. And there are, as I said, a couple of other things that I want to praise, but these are, I guess, spoilers for what happens. So if you're curious, check it out. I think Cleveland Abduction is a strong film, not the easiest watch, but that's very much in the film's favour. It did a lot right, and I think it's a film that's worth checking out if you're curious about this story. You don't need to know anything about the true story to watch this. In fact, in some ways, it might be better if you don't know anything, because then you've got the element of unpredictability. But certainly, if you're aware of the Castro kidnappings, then I think it's certainly worth watching there as well. So I now want to praise a few specific things about the film. So these are spoilers for the last, I want to say last half an hour of the film. I'm not sure exactly, but certainly towards the end of the film. So spoilers from now. I have nothing else to say other than definitely check out the film. So the first thing I want to praise, and it's such a small thing, but I don't think I've ever seen it done so effectively in a true story before. And it's when the police officers enter the house and they find Michelle. And then they realise that there are other people there. And one of the other women, I can't remember which one, so my apologies, but one of them comes out from, I think, behind a cupboard. And the look on the police officer's face when she realised they'd found another missing person was so believable. And I feel like with true crime stories, understandably because they're largely focused on the perspective of the victim, we don't really often get to experience the police officers' emotions when they realise they've just found somebody who's been missing for a long period of time. And it was just a very fleeting moment of what that officer might have been experiencing in that moment. And I found it to be a very small but very effective thing to include. And it is such a couple of seconds, but I was really impressed with that. And the other thing I want to praise is the fact that they ended quite a long period of time. Well, I guess I think it was maybe a couple of weeks after they were found, after the women were found. And it continues to focus on Michelle Knight and some of the immediate aftermath and spending time in the hospital and wanting to find her son. And I think it was really effective to give us a little bit more of what happened afterwards. Most films like this will end with the discovery of the kidnapped person, and then we'll have some text on screen saying what happened next. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I don't think they always need to go into the aftermath. It's based on a true story, so you can look it up and find out what happened. But just giving us those extra minutes with Michelle and those immediate moments afterwards, I thought was a really nice thing to include. So definitely a really strong film. The story is told in a way that's really effective, very emotional. Cleveland Abduction. It's terrible that it's based on a true story, but that also makes it incredibly powerful. And as I said, whether you're new to the case or you're familiar with the Castro case, I'd say it's one film that is absolutely worth watching.